All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanan. And in this video, more proof that Turki Alalsheik is not ready to be a promoter, as he makes one of the greatest insults to Shakur Stevenson that I have seen in a while out of what can only be pure pettiness. As Shakur Stevenson is put on an undercard versus William Zepeda in New York City. It's ridiculous. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanan, and in this video, we're going to be at 135-pound division, where we have an update about Shakur Stevenson and his fight with William Zepeda, which was marred earlier last week by conversations in public that involved Turki Alalsheik and Shakur Stevenson, where Shakur Stevenson said he wasn't going to take the William Zepeda fight because of the money offered to him by Turki Alalsheik was less than what was agreed to. The reason was given was because the fight was going to be in New York City instead of being in Saudi Arabia. So they worked that out, and Shakur Stevenson apparently is going to get the money that was promised to him. Only problem, Turki Alalsheik behaves like a child and quite obviously was irritated. And that's the only reason I can come up with this ridiculous lineup for this fight that's going to be taking place on July 20th in New York. Now, before I get into the details, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And if you're a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, thank you guys so much. It really, really means a lot to the channel. But let's get into this. Pure petty is the only reason that I can think of that Shakur Stevenson would be on the undercard of him, and William Zepeda would be on the undercard of Edgar Berlanga and 168-pound Saudi Arabian fighter that is clearly Turki Alalsheik's favorite, name Hamad Shiraz, I do believe is how you pronounce his name. That is going to be the main event. And Shakur and William Zepeda is going to be the co-main event. How can I say this? Other than to say that is pure petty, that is pure ridiculous. There's no way in the world that somebody that is actually thinking about selling tickets, actually putting this together in a very open-minded way would do that. Why do I say that? Because, number one, Berlanga is not a champion. Neither is Shiraz. Neither one of them are a known commodity really like that in the United States. They're really not. The only reason that you could possibly say that Berlanga should be in the main event is because Berlanga is Puerto Rican and Berlanga is in New York. However, I hate to break this to you guys. Puerto Rican people are not that stupid. They are not going to go piling into stadiums to see and I like Edgar Berlanga, but Edgar Berlanga is barely a contender. Barely a contender. And he has to be considered the underdog to Shiraz, who more than likely Turki Alalsheik is going to do everything he possibly can do to get the man to win the fight. If you don't believe me, go back and look at the fight that took place with Turki Alalsheik, the last Shiraz fight when he fought Carlos Adames. Carlos Adames, by the way, I believe is a much better fighter than Edgar Berlanga. And I expect Shiraz to be, with his size and his length, to be able to do something and be able to deal with Edgar Berlanga and beat Edgar Berlanga. So you put Berlanga out there as an underdog in a fight that he will more than likely lose. But your main event guy, the one that has the most exposure, you put in the second to last one. That's only petty. You can't tell me that you need Berlanga as the head main event to sell tickets. If you wanted to sell tickets for sure, you could put the fight on in New Jersey. And that fight would sell out with Williams Zepeda and those guys in New Jersey. But more than likely, it's also going to sell out or do well if you put it in the Barclays Centers in New York, because Shakur Stevenson's from New Jersey. New Jersey is just right over the river from New York City. It's not very far. So he has a lot of supporters that are in that area. But it's just very, very clear that this was done to slight Shakur Stevenson. And maybe also to slight Oscar De La Hoya and have the main event be maybe a matchroom fighter. And anyway, whatever it is, whatever is going on, it's absolutely ridiculous. And it's petty. And it's clearly a personality characteristic that Turki Alalsheik has. You can see how he behaved when his soccer team started losing, how he pulled out and threw that big hissy fit. You can just see how the dude behaves. Absolutely ridiculous in my opinion for this, which could also explain why Shakur Stevenson also said, well, okay, I'm also not going to sign with Matchroom. And he signed with Luda Bella. Luda Bella, who, by the way, in the past had not been all that impressed with Shakur Stevenson. However, at least he has a promoter that he thinks can really be doing some business and looking out for him, because it's very clear that Eddie Hearn was not looking out primarily for him, because he's not, even though he signed with Matchroom, he wasn't primarily a Matchroom fighter. He was one of these guys that were recruited by Turki Alalsheik, and Turki Alalsheik was promising the money to be paid through Matchroom, the promotional company. So now that his relationship, I suppose, is obviously damaged with Turki Alalsheik, he backs away from Matchroom, signs to Luda Bella. Now he's on an undercard. This is a very, very odd situation. You now have Devin Haney as an undercard fighter for Turki Alalsheik. You have he put Deontay Wilder on undercards. He put so is it Devin now? T.O.'s on the undercard. Shakur's on the undercard. Deontay Wilder's been on the undercard. Look, let me tell you, with Turki Alalsheik, I would not be surprised if Gervonta Davis had signed with him, that Gervonta Davis would go on an undercard. This man has absolutely no understanding of the sport of boxing and how these things are supposed to be arranged and what people actually want to see. There's no way that you can tell me that you think that that you think that Berlanga and Shiraz is the last fight that people should be seeing before they walk out, and not the number one contender in multiple sanctioning bodies at lightweight in Williams Zepeda, and one of the top 5, top 6 pound for pound fighters in the world in Shakur Stevenson. You duck them on, you slide them down on an undercard. No, man, there's something else that is some other considerations that are going through this man's mind that allows him to order fights where he thinks if you order a fight that way, that it's going to be good. Just like when they lied, like the first time I knew this dude was a liar, when they said that they were going to flip a coin for who was going to go first and who was going to be the last fight between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. They put that stuff out there, but at the end of the day, you knew full well who was going to be on the undercard. It was going to be the Black American fighter that was going to be on the undercard for Turki Alalsheik. Anyway, that's my take on the matter. I think that this is absolutely ridiculous. Not to say that, there's not a reason why he could have some problems with Shakur or whatever, but when you look at the event and you're like, okay, we're putting on an event for thousands and thousands and thousands of people to watch, you put the thing in the right order, the way that it's supposed to be, based on who the best fighters are and what the biggest fight is that day. You don't tuck it on an undercard. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.